Welcome to the latest in our series of webinars about Vulcan 10. During this session, we will provide information about the new grade control model and also give a brief demonstration of the new functionality. A few housekeeping matters. If you have any question, please enter them in the question panel at any time during the webinar. If we run out of the time to answer them all, we will be in touch afterwards. The recording will be available in a day or so, and everyone will receive the link to access and share with colleagues if you wish. I will introduce Mike Husbands. He is the Sales and Service Manager for Western Australia and has an extensive experience with our grade control model. In this webinar, Mike will outline new tools and workflows that streamline the grade control process. He will also briefly share some of the new functionalities available in this new version. Please welcome Mike.
Hello everyone. The grade control module has been completely rewritten in Vulcan 10. It takes full advantage of the new workbench capability. Principally, we wanted to clear up any confusion and angst with the configuration of the grade control system. The big advantage of the Vulcan grade control is that the resulting grade blocks are written to a database with all associated information such as grade, tons, destination, and this can be directly linked into the downstream process into fleet management systems. The new version includes a full restructure of the menu, with grade control being the first to incorporate menu modality, which I will show in the demonstration. We've separated out the configuration rules from the display setup with improved validation checks. There is added power to the calculation rules with better clarity in how calculations are applied. There's no longer the need to define synonyms in the ISIS database design, and there's clear correlation between fields in the grade control database, the drill hole sample databases, and block models. The cutting algorithm takes full advantage of the standard Boolean operations within Vulcan, giving consistent and clean results. We've run through some tests, and all our tests have provided some really good results in our cutting algorithm now. So that's with client data and our own data, so it's a big step ahead for us. We've also improved reporting with the ability to produce bench plans, material reports, and exports of triangulations and objects with the associated attributes. So I'll now proceed directly to a live demonstration to show how the new grade control can be configured and run in Vulcan 10. So here we are in Vulcan 10.0.2. It's the new workbench, and it's the latest version available for everybody that has maintenance up to date. Grade control is the first option to be completely rewritten in the new workbench environment. I mentioned that it incorporates menu modality, and what that means is, as we see here in the grade control menu, at the moment, until I load specifications, there are only two items highlighted and made active. The rest below, until I've loaded specifications, I know they're not active. The idea of this is to help people step through the process and not to try and use operations before the prior steps are taken. So I'll continue here. So now we'll see that other items are active in the menu list, like new blast, load blast, etc. This also applies to the grade control toolbar, which I have here. So we've got the toolbars available, and that modality applies across all of those. Now we'll go into have a look at the completely rewritten menu, and we'll go and look at the data sources. Here we're linking to an ISIS database. You can define your whole sample source, where the grade control database contains the blast holes themselves, drill hole database, external sample source, but it's an ISIS database or a map file. In this case, the source is a block model. So the input we've got here is a block model, and this panel separates out the source block model from the reconciliation block models. That clears up any confusion in the previous versions where they were listed together. We were not generating a block model. A new option here, we've got the grade block log. So the idea is to generate log files which serve for audit purposes. That lists the grade blocks that have been generated and saved to the database, along with who did it, what assignments rules were applied, what parameters, grades, etc. They're stored either in XML log files, or you can store those audit logs directly to the database. The database setup. This is an overview, so I won't go through the full setup connecting grade control to the database. We have the database name here. It's an ISIS type. You can link in via ODBC to your Oracle or SQL Server databases. It shows that we have blast tables, and blast keys are defined as pit, bench, and blast in this case, grade block tables, and various attributes. The next step, let's go through data source correlation. Now, the big change in Vulcan 10 grade control is that synonyms are no longer needed in the definition of the ISIS setup, and the names in the database can be different from names of the fields in block models and the samples database and drill hole databases, and they're all linked by this correlation table. You can auto-populate, and where fields match, they will auto-populate through here, and it's an easier setup and much clearer in the process. Calculation rules. We've separated the calculation rules from the presentation display settings, so it keeps it clear that if you're going to make changes, you use the calculation rules option. The display settings are defined elsewhere, separating out those functionalities. We've added more rule types, so where there was some occult or implicit behavior in previous versions where different rules were used in different ways, we now have them explicit, some proportion, min, max, minority, majority, adding more clarity and more options to define your assignment rules and your rule types. Bringing to the assignment rules, we have the typical assignment rules as per previous version. So we've got conditions here to the left, and the high grade values we're assigning where iron is greater than 59, etc. Now, to make this more applicable, I've got the option to use the scripted rule format. The scripted rule adds a lot of power. So if I go in here, I can add logic statement here. You will notice in the bottom right-hand corner there's a red invalid button. So now I can enter in the field, value, and it's still showing as an invalid in the bottom right corner. And now I've completed the if-then-else statement, and it's showing green. So there's a lot of inbuilt validation and checks within the new grade control configuration. Okay, so here there are other options here to set up your display configuration, set up material reporting, preferences, but we get to validate current specifications. So before I try and run anything, I'll validate that the setup is correct. So that means that assignment rules pass, format, syntax, validation, and databases are linked to block models, and everything's in order. So now I can proceed with my block out. So I'll bring up a blast solid in this case. I'll use the toolbar icon for new blast here, so click on that. Another change is that the naming of the blast is done up front, so it keeps clarity of what blast is being blocked out. Before previous versions, you define the blast on save. We've created a new blast, so now more options appear in the toolbar. So we've got options here to register the blast. So we have solid triangulation. A new option, we've got services where you take two services and a limiting polygon. to automatically generate the blast solid without having to generate it prior. And we also can do that between levels as well. That's in here. So I'll pick the solid. Here we go. So now that's displayed the blast with the block model information using the rules as we've defined. The idea now will manually define our cut lines. So I've drawn some pretty rough cutting lines here. I'll also bring in a feature, a surface, so we can add in, use that as well. So now if I apply the create grade blocks, I'll use line polygons to begin with. Now see that we've got new methods for creating the cutting surfaces, so we can specify dip value. We've also got these methods below where we can project between top and bottom levels of the blast. We can also translate along with bearing, either between the top and bottom levels or by distance. In this case, I'll leave it as a straight cut on the dip of 90. This option now uses the full Boolean tools within Vulcan, the standard tools, so getting much better results. Now I'll select the surface that I've got here as a triangulation, and we'll include that in the process, and we'll generate the blocks. So remove the cutting surfaces, and there we have our grade blocks defined here. So the next step in the process is to add our postings of information regarding each of the grade blocks. So we use the positioning tools, position where we like to have them related to each of the blocks. And there you can see that we've got low grade blocks to high grade blocks, and we're basically laying it out as we'd like to see in a report. So we can go through using the icons on the toolbar again, and we'll position our blast report for the entire blast, the summary. We'll put that down here, and we can see the various blocks that are being generated. So now we can send it off printing, so we use the plot icon, and here we've got a plot of our grade blocks that we can print off and pass on to other departments. So the other step we can take going forward is looking at some of our reporting. So one of the new options, material report, we've got options here to create material classification, dilution breakdown, dilution, and misclassification. So run that, and this takes full advantage of the new workbench tab facility, so we can see the classification report, the dilution breakdown report, dilution misclassification. In the new workbench, you also can drag these out, position them to the side, can bring up Envisage, and we can compare and see how the reports relate to what we're seeing in Envisage. And here we've got the high grade block's been classified. It's 92% is high grade, and within that grade block there's 2% low grade and 6% waste. Another good feature we've incorporated in this version is adding in the export, we can export either blast solids, the grade block solids, but we've added the ability to export attributes to the triangulations. So in this case, every triangulation will have the attributes exported with your destination tons, volume, density, iron, etc. We can also define design objects and the attributes that are associated with the design objects as well, and save them to a layer. I won't export the design objects, just the triangulations in this case. So here we've got the triangulations have been created for the grade blocks that are generated. So if I choose here, and we're looking at the low grade block here at the moment, and in the property windows we can see that we've got the attributes assigned here associated with the triangulation itself. So that triangulation file can be passed to other departments and the attributes will carry across with it. In Vulcan 10, for all triangulations, not just the grade control triangulations, we have values in the properties window where we can see the volume and surface area associated with that triangulation, and it also shows whether that triangulation is valid according to our 3 principal validation checks. So with these attributes we can send them off, for example, to scheduling, like our Maptek evolution scheduling tools, and all the grade, the tons, etc. carried across with it. Lastly, I would like to, we set up the audit tool. So if we go into the audit folder that I defined, we can open this up. It's an XML file. This file can be taken into Excel spreadsheets or databases, and it defines the grade block, the user who generated it, and then has a record of what the assignment rules were passed to assign the destination to that block. Okay, that's a fair summary of what I'd like to show you today with the new grade control option within Vulcan 10. So we continually renew our products to improve on our functionality, and we're always keen to work with our users to incorporate new ideas. Some of the items that we're considering and discussing internally at Maptek for future development are automatic grade block creation, and then dynamic line adjustment, and also the distortion of the grade block polygons using BVI vectors. So there's a few ideas that we've got there, and it'd be good to continue our conversations with our clients to ensure that we're carrying this forward in the right direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. This new grade control is really taking to the next level. A lot of things that current customers are awaiting, now they will get access, and hopefully we can make their life easier. Obviously, if you have any new requests or any other feedback, please let us know. All right, it seems like we have some questions here. Let's try to answer all of them. Let's start.
The grade control module is a separate module within Vulcan licensing. Anyone who has that option in 9.1 and previous versions will have access to that in Vulcan 10. As long as they have the maintenance up to date. So anyone else who does not have access to the grade control module and would like to have a look at it, please contact your local Maptek office and arrange a demonstration.
Okay, great. We got another one here. Can I use the same specification file as per previous Vulcan version?
No, as I mentioned, there's a new grade control configuration file called a .gcs file. So in the grade control setup, there's a new specification file, but you can convert the previous version GCV files. So we have this option, convert specifications. So taking the original GCV file from previous versions, we can specify the new GCS, Grade Control Specification file, and hit OK. Any errors on translation will appear, and in this case there's some superfluous information that we can consider deleting. So once you've done that, you can go through the setup, check the error messages, and make a few small changes, and then validate your current specifications, and then you're off and running in Vulcan 10 with a new grade control.
All right, we got the last one here. Can apply specific symbols in the display area?
Yeah, I didn't show this in the demonstration because I was using an input block model as the data source. But you can combine new color schemes and incorporate not just the color, but you can incorporate shapes as well. So define different shapes and colors for your drill holes and samples. And one interesting thing is the scale option. And that allows you to scale the size of the symbol to be larger or smaller to easily identify errors of high grade, for example, and so you don't miss anything in the specific blast. So it's quite useful.
All right. Thanks for providing an overview of the new grade control model in Vulcan 10, Mike. If you have not already installed Vulcan 10, customer with current software maintenance can download the new version from our website, user.maptek.com. You can get from that. If you have any question about using Vulcan 10, please contact your local Maptek office for any assistance. As I mentioned before, the recording will be available soon on the Maptek website. You can share the link with colleagues who didn't register for this one. Note the additional webinar about Vulcan 10 shown on this slide. Register for as many as you wish as the day become live. We recommend registering earlier as demand is high. From this page, you can also access recording for all the recent Maptek webinars. Thank you again, Mike. Don't forget you can contact your local Maptek office for further information about content in today's webinar. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.